Hey guys, and welcome back to the next episode of Flipping 5 mil into 1 bill. And in this episode, we're starting off with almost 95 million, which is pretty much the exact amount we ended up on our last episode. And if you haven't seen the last episodes, you can find them all in the description down below. There will be a link to every single episode with the name next to it. But in this episode, I really wanted to flip items I've never done before. So I was reading through the forums, kind of like making a list of items to flip in this episode. And one of the items that came to my attention with the kind of like the cash amount we have was the sack of effigies. Someone had said on the forums that you can buy them for like 40 million and sell them for a good 1 million profit. So I really wanted to try it out and see if it was possible. So I went into the forums, I put it at 38 million just to make sure it wouldn't instantly buy or anything like that. And after reading through the forums more and more, I found out that loads of people have been buying it at 40 million and then looking for about 41 to 42 million, meaning that they were going to be getting about 1 to 2 million profit. But because I was looking for items that were quite different, you do obviously come across the normal items like scrimshaws and that kind of thing. And I think I got lucky with these scrimshaws. I bought them instantly for about 1.42 million each, and I sold them for about 130k profit each, so that was quite decent. But what I really wanted to do, and what I wanted to encourage in this episode, is for you to make a list of items to flip every 4 hours. Now, I'm talking about a list of items like you start off with adamant bars and then move on into your royal dragon hides and then move on into your scrimshaws. But the reason why you want to make a list is to make sure you aren't just sitting there looking for items. And one of the reasons why I looked for items before making this video was just so I'm not sitting there looking for items. And that's also really handy for future episodes because now I have a list of about 20 items I can flip, and if it doesn't work out, I cross it off. If an item I find and it's a new item and it works, I just add it onto the list. And that's a good, a pretty good way of keeping a whole list of good items and getting rid of the bad items. And then after about 2 weeks, you end up with a whole list of really good profitable items that have gone really well for you. And if an item goes bad and you don't think it would ever go good again, you just cross it off and you move on to the next item. So that's really handy. You can actually make your list, especially starting off with flipping. You don't have to do it from 50 to 100 million cash stack. You can easily do it from 500 GP. Like on your list, you might start off with Guam leaves, and then as you get up into about 1 million, you might get rid of Guam leaves because it's no longer as profitable as other things. And you might add, I don't know, Bandos gloves, just say, to your list once you reach like 1-2 million. And as you get higher up into like 20-30 million, you might get rid of Bandos gloves because it might not be as profitable as as maybe doing scrimshaws. And then as you get up to 100 million, you might get rid of scrimshaws because you find out that ascension crossbows are now more profitable. So those are the kind of things you have to work on your list. It is something continuous. It is something that never gives up. Even me, from about 3 to 6 million cash stack, I was getting rid of a few things that weren't as profitable anymore. So this is something that is forever. And having a list is definitely a good way of keeping track of items that you should be flipping and items you shouldn't be flipping. Because even when you get higher and higher up in your cash stack, you do realize that you do forget about a few items. Like you might forget about flipping, I don't know, dry gauze because you haven't done it in a while. And having a list does make sure that you're always doing it often. After about 10 to 15 minutes, I started to work out in my mind how much profit I had made already, because my sack of effigies had bought, my scrimshaws had bought and sold, 3/4 of my wine of Zamrak stock had bought, and loads of it had sold already. And I was trying to figure out how much profit I'd made after 15 minutes. And I was looking at about 2 million profit, and I was quite happy about that, because usually it's not, that good after 15 minutes. But probably why I made so much is because the sack of effigies had bought, and that sells in a bit, and you will see I make about 1 million profit on that. My scrimshaws made me about 400 to 500k profit, so that's 1.5 million. And then my wine of Zamrax had bought, and loads of it had sold, and the rest will sell in a bit also, and that's about 600 to 700k profit. So that was 2.1 million profit already in the first 15 minutes of this episode. So that was pretty decent. Usually for these episodes though, the way I work it out is not how much time I spend from the start to the end of flipping, it's how much time I actually spend recording. So right now, exactly, I'm 5 minutes recording. So usually my episodes last for about 20 minutes recording, which means that I only spend 20 minutes in the Grand Exchange changing offers around. The rest of the time I'm doing something else, I'm making money elsewhere. So that's what I usually aim for, 20 minutes of recording. So I actually only spend 20 minutes in the Grand Exchange changing offers around. I don't spend time anywhere else doing anything else. I only spend time doing that. So that's actually pretty decent. But of course it does range from a few hours sometimes to just actually half an hour. This episode itself though ranges from about 6 hours. So from when I wake up to about till I make this video in the afternoon. So that's how much time ranges in making some of these episodes. But I have actually made some of these episodes and made about 6-7 million profit, and it only took me about half an hour. So I do have my good days and I do have my bad days. So jumping ahead now in my day, my wine of Zamrax didn't really buy that well, so I cancelled the rest because I think someone had overcut me on the price, which means that I have to wait for theirs to buy before mine can buy, or I could always just fight with the prices with them. But I only had about 2,000 left to buy, so I thought just leave it, I'll move on to another item. So that's when I bought the papayas, and they bought really quick. I also moved on into flipping the Ascension shards. They had about a 30 GP margin, which means that if I flipped 10,000, I was looking at about 300,000 profit, and for such a cheap item, that was really good. Which means that they also had a 5% profit. So if I invest 100 million into the Ascension shards, I'd walk away with 5 million profit. But you know, you obviously can't do that with the Grand Exchange limit nowadays. But besides that, it was actually pretty good. So jumping ahead now into the episode once again, I sold my sack of effigies for about almost 41 million. So I made about 800k profit, which wasn't that bad for about 40 minutes. I did spend about 40 minutes that had originally bought and then sold, so about 40 minutes in total. But 800k in 1G slot in 40 minutes isn't that bad. I was beginning to look for about 2 million profit, but maybe I was a bit too long-sighted, and maybe I was kind of expecting a bit too much from the sack of effigies. And sometimes that's the problem with the forum pages. You know, they do lie quite often. People do lie for their own benefit. You know, if someone says they sold an item for 43 million, they might have actually had offers in for 42 million. So people might take out their cheaper sale prices and put them in for higher because someone had sold them for higher. So that's the problem also with these forum pages. People do lie quite often, and you do got to be quite smart with some of these things. So it is quite common sense though, so be very careful with where you get your prices from. And I will talk about these kind of things later on in the episodes once you get higher up into the kind of like into the 100 millions, because it doesn't really happen with these lower items that often. You know, with especially with like Black Dragon leather, who's going to man that up? You know, it's quite a high volume item. No one's really going to lie about that kind of stuff. And once again, moving on into like the last like 3/4 of the episode, I bought another sack of effigies. It took me about 1 hour though to buy. It took really long. I think I had changed my prices around and it kind of messed it up. And towards the end of the episode, you will see me make another about 800k profit on that. I did go on to flip though, like Tetsu, Death Lotus, Subjugation, and you will see that my Black Dragon hide leathers had not sold yet. They were quite tricky for me. I didn't really understand what was going on with them, because they would buy 100 GP above my sale price, and then 5 minutes later they were 100 GP below my sale price. So they were jumping around for some reason, and I wasn't even touching my leather, and there's something weird going on. So I just decided to sell it for the price I had bought at. So I didn't make any profit on that, and I didn't make any loss. So sometimes it's better just to cut your losses in time, like just a waste of time, and not actually in profit. So that was one of the worst occasions in this episode, you know, just a bit of loss of time, I guess. So that kind of ends this episode. You will see my cash stack just in a second, but I ended up with slightly over 103 million. My biggest aim right now though is to reach the Ascension crossbows, because that's when a lot of profit does come in, and then also the noxious items. You know, once you reach about 170 to about 220 million, that's when the profit does really come in. Because the other day I was flipping it just normally with my normal cash stack, and I flipped about 6 noxious items and I made 12 million, and it only took me about 10 minutes to flip. So that's something I'm really aiming for, and that's something you will see towards the later episodes in this kind of flipping this series. And also something I'm working on is my completion escape, which I want to end soon. I want to end that episode so badly. It's been going now for about a year, and I'm on my 30th episode or whatever I'm on. So thanks guys for watching. If you have any questions or anything like that, just please post them below. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe. and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. So, peace out.